Welcome to Feature Fridays. My name is Guy Bartram, Director of Product Marketing for our cloud providers at VMware. And today I'm joined by Bhaskar and Amit again. Nice to see you guys back on Feature Fridays. Thanks for your time.
Thanks,
for those who haven't met you, let's have a quick introduction to you both. Bhaskar, why don't you go first?
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Bhaskar Gupta. I'm working as a technical product manager for VCPP at VMware.
Thanks, Bhaskar. And Amit?
Yep, I am Amit. I'm working as a product marketing manager in the CIBG at VMware.
Excellent. All right, guys. So we're here to talk about Lifecycle Manager, and specifically the cloud provider version, CPLCM, and 1.3, which came out a little while ago now, but we haven't done a kind of Feature Fridays on this. So Bhaskar, you've been kind of the kind of inventor behind CPLCM. Do you want to kind of give us a brief overview of where this came from?
Sure, Guy. So basically, if you see at the VCF stack, we have a Lifecycle Manager, but there was a requirement in terms of VMware Cloud Director and other VCPP products like vRealize tenant app and so usage meter. So that's where we found that there was a requirement from the partners and clients to get a Lifecycle Manager which can automate the deployment, day-to operations, and so on. That's why we came up with the Lifecycle VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager. So the journey began with a different, architecture model and so on. So I'll have Amit to discuss about it. I'm sure it's going to be interesting, and you'll be very interested to see how we have evolved from where we were and where we are at now to meet the customer's requirements.
Excellent. Yeah, it's certainly, Lifecycle Manager. I think that, the VMware Lifecycle Manager was, a real game changer for providers and customers who have VCF, and not having that extra for our cloud providers on their, like say, usage meter and other products was a real problem, because essentially they're managing two different kind of operational models. And exactly. So happy to see that you guys have, taken the initiative, taken the lead on this, and built out a product which is now at 1.3 and will be 1.4 before the end of the year. So fantastic news. Okay, Amit, why don't you take us through a little bit about CPLCM then?
So yeah, as Bhaskar rightly said, so LCM is a lifecycle manager. So this is a tool that comes with great simplicity and which gives out a very simple operational experience for cloud providers. So this fundamentally helps providers who deploy products like Cloud Director, usage meter, and tenant app at scale. So they can deploy, they can upgrade, and they can configure it and manage all their operations, including deployment as well as provisioning. Say you have your node upgrades, you have your certificate manipulations, and all that, and these are finally automated with a view of having it a view of having a very valid design, which follows the best practice that VMware advises. So this provides a very neat outcome from day 0, 1, and 2 operations to cloud providers, so that saves them both time and effort and all that extra human side of errors that might occur while doing it at scale.
Yeah, and one of the things I guess I've got to ask is, a lot of cloud providers don't necessarily have greenfield environments. Is this taking care of existing environments as well as new deployments?
Yes, so it is taking care. The greenfield is now taken care, but then we can also try out on the brownfield environments where providers can import some files out of the environment definitions to cloud provider 1.3 that we are talking about today. Yeah, and next we have the framework of cloud provider lifecycle manager. So this fundamentally takes care of 3 products: Cloud Director, Tenant App, and Usage Meter, and also takes care of VMware RabbitMQ. So these are the 4 products which are encompassed in the lifecycle manager stack. So what we have here in 1.3 as compared to 1.2 is that we have a graphical user interface, which was not there in 1.2. So that's a huge leap forward, which would definitely accelerate the experiences, the operation, the usage experiences of cloud providers, where they can now find everything in a single pane of glass, geo deployment for automating and accelerating their offering. And also we have the statefulness of the solution now. So CPLCM 1.2 was not stateful, and it did not have its state. So it was an app-based deployment where the application would actually forget everything when it got rebooted. So we now have the statefulness, where there is no need for us to fundamentally store a definition file and then again get it back while upgrading or patching or managing. And then there would be checks to see if the current environment would match with the definition file which we had, and then all that iterations. So now we have the statefulness, where it fundamentally it does the version control also, where you can find versions of environments that you need to upgrade and manage on the LCM front. And then these are the two big features. And then there are other features like the introduction of API version 2, where we have introduced support for the latest VCD products, version 10.3 and up. And we also have support for the latest tenant app and usage meter versions as well.
Okay, and they're all in line with the kind of the interoperability within the VMware Valid Design, right?
Right. So there are interop bundles also, so that can also be installed through the GUI itself, where the solution does import and show you how there is a match between which interop bundle that you can deploy on the current environment.
Okay. And what's data center operations about there?
Yeah, so data center operations is in the GUI. There are few features which are not really recognized by LCM. So with this version, what we've done is we've given the ability for the user to actually define these products, like say a vCenter or an NX60 instance, where they can define that as a data center component, and even that will be recognized with the GUI, which was previously not. So that will be you'll see that in detail in the demo that's coming up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so this is where we were. So we came from Lifecycle Manager 1, and then 1.2, and now we went 1.3. So the product deployment was through API and CLI in 1.2, and in 1.1 it was more a Docker-based image. Then we that got evolved, and the consumption to increased in 1.2, where we saw that as an app-based deployment. And then in 1.3, we've successfully put in the UI-based deployment. We've made it stateful so that the experiences is quite simpler and easy on the eye. Mm-hmm. And then we've also planned for 1.4 that's coming up, which has a few more enhancements and data functions that can be handled through UI itself. And we also have the ability to integrate with Cloud Director availability.
Okay, so more products coming on board. That's more kind of functionality in the UI.
Right.
Excellent. Okay, and just from an architectural perspective, then, how does this fit in with the existing VMware LCM?
Guy, as of now, this product works independently than the Lifecycle Manager which we have. Okay. So it is purely designed for this products, the VCPP products, and that's why we cannot combine with the Lifecycle Manager how it operates. For example, for any upgrades, it's talks to the inventory and pulls up, checks all those inventory checks, and then suggest which all to which all components to upgrades and does the operations. So here it works independently. When I'm saying the downloads, for example, I'll be talking in the upcoming slides. If you need to upgrade or deploy any products, the downloads, the repository is still manual. But again, in the upcoming versions, we are still thinking of how to automate that to make that job easier. Okay. So that is the approach as of now.
Okay, great.
All right, and next we have the architecture of how of 1.3 and how this evolved was it fundamentally sits in the framework of 1.2, and just let Bhaskar steer from here.
To start with the architecture, so what we have got here, it's the same architecture which was earlier with the versions 1.0 and so on. So with on the left, we have got the provider orchestration, wherein the provider can use their any orchestration engine to integrate with this cloud provider lifecycle manager. And in between, we have got the lifecycle manager repository. So when I'm talking about the repository in earlier videos or the sessions I have mentioned as well. So basically, the repository is nothing but it can be an NFS share, or it can be a folder structure. There's a specific folder structure you need to create in the VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager host. So what are the contents of it is the OVA files, wherein, for example, if you want to deploy any of the products like VMware Cloud Director, vRealize Operations Manager Tenant app, Usage Meter, or RabbitMQ. So what you're going to do is you have to download those binaries from VMware site or the marketplace and copy to the respective folder structure. I'll be going through them in a while. I'll show them how the folder structure looks like. So we have to make sure that the permissions are proper, and there's a nice documentation out there. You can just refer that. It's still a manual process. You still need to go and download it, but eventually we're looking for a more automated approach where you don't need to worry about it. And the same goes for the upgrades as well. If you want to upgrade VMware Cloud Director from 10.2 to 10.3, you have to make sure the upgrade bundles are copied in the respective folder structure. So this is what is all about the NFS repository. And at the end, on the right hand side, as you can see, we have got the target vCenter. That's where we need to we can download or upgrade products. For example, VMware Cloud Director, vRealize Operations Manager, Tenant app, Usage Meter, and RabbitMQ. But we don't support RabbitMQ as of now. The deployment is still supported, but in the upcoming version, you will see a lot more products, as you can see here. So there is
sorry, just to interrupt you. So you said before that this didn't include all of the the standard VMware Lifecycle Manager components. So what about things like NSXT and things like that are essential to the running of the cloud?
Yeah. So basically, what I went to say is that this VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager doesn't manage those components. For example, NSXT, vCenter, but it utilizes those. We have to make sure we have got a target vCenter deployed. And before deploying any products, VMware Cloud Director, we have to make sure we have to follow the product documentation. For instance, for VMware Cloud Director, we have to make sure NSXT is there. If you're using multiple cells, we have to make sure the the load balancer have to be configured, NFS. So similarly, Lifecycle Manager doesn't manage those underlying infrastructure, NSXT or VDOPS, or in that case, vCenter as well. But it leverages those infrastructure to deploy the product.
Okay.
And there's something which Amit was also talking. I want to elaborate more on it, like interop bundle. So, for example, we have got VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager 1.3, and right now, in today's date, when the product was launched, or there were some products which was available, like VMware Cloud Director 10.3 or so on, they were supported. But what if a new version of any of the products which you see on the right hand side, like Cloud Director or Operations Manager Tenant app, have been released? So in order to make this compatibility, aligned with each other, so we have got operations, this bundle here as well, interop bundle. What it does is, whenever a new product is released, like VMware Cloud Director 10.3.1 or any one versions, so we'll release an interop bundle, and you can. If you are using VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager 1.3, you can go to the same download page and you can see an interop bundle is available. So this interop bundle, if you download it, it makes sure that you are able to, manage these new versions, which is available without having to reinstall your lifecycle manager. So that is what we have come up with at the moment, rather than reinstalling with the latest version to make it supported with the deployed products. We have got the interrupt bundle. So coming to the next slide here. So deployment and feature. So deployment is pretty simple. Like any other appliance, you can just download the vCPLCM OVA file from my.vmware.com. Deploy vCPLCM OVA in the vCenter. You can use, this the product binaries also, and you can use the OVA tool here. And then finally, as I said, you have to set up a binary file structure and a file structure. If you want to deploy VCD usage meter, you have to copy that in the repository. And that's how you how you deploy any other appliance here. Now, this is an interesting topic, version update on installation. Till now with 1.2, since 1.1 was a Docker image and 1.2 was an appliance-based. So from Docker to appliance-based option, there were no upgrades available because there's a whole an architecture change. So if you wanted to go to from 1.1 to 1.2, you have to do a reinstallation. But for 1.2 to 1.3, you don't need to do that. You can use an upgrade option here, which is available. So there are two options by which you can upgrade to 1.3.1. You can download the upgrade script. So that procedure, how it works is that there's an upgrade script available at VMware site. You need to just upload it to temp directory of the appliance and then run the script, and that will upgrade it, the VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager to 1.3. The second option is using an in-place upgrade also, like you can get the ISO file, which is available, download it and copy it in the respective folder structure. Or I would say, just keep in mind wherein there is a script at the end, like you have to give that path where you have downloaded that ISO file and run that script. And that will use that ISO file to upgrade to 1.3. So these are the two options by which you can upgrade it to 1.3. And at the end, there's another concept called Vault, like VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager Vault. So what does the Vault mean basically? As Amit was also saying, with 1.3, the major difference is that we have got the stateful. So what it means is that there is all the state of the information, for example, the download products, or whatever you have upgraded, the environments, the data center, task, everything is now, it holds the information in a local file system. There's a specific folder structure inside the CPLCM host wherein it holds the information over there. And using that information, you can, retrieve in a JSON, and you can, work on those details as well. But there are some secrets. For example, the information or the environment details, they are stored in a separate way. This is where the Vault comes in. With VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager 1.3, a new component, as I was saying, it stores the secrets securely. And there's a vault that needs to be initialized with CPLCM user password. Once you upgrade it to 1.3, you have to initialize that with the password. So basically that vault is password protected. And unless you do that, you won't be able to upgrade to 1.3, because that's a new architecture altogether in terms of how the vault functions here. So these are the major differences apart from UI. Okay. Now coming to the features. So I want to take a moment to talk in details about the features, which I will be showing in the demo also. As you know, the product deployment, which I was talking about, you can deploy like any other versions which was available also, like you can deploy VMware Cloud Director, VDops tenant app, usage meter, RabbitMQ, and so on. And also you can upgrade the products such as RabbitMQ and certificate management. For example, if you want to update a certificate for VMware Cloud Director or any other products which support those certificates, you can do that. You can check which certificate it's using, and also retrieve information about the deployed environments. What are the environments being deployed using CPLCM? You can get to know. And this product supports all the features like CLI, API, as well as UI. So you can use any of those methods as well. And then node management. For example, if a VMware Cloud Director has got 3 nodes, or VDops Manager, Operations Manager tenant app has got some nodes, so you can add or retrieve information about those nodes. You can remove a node or add a node as well, and import environments. I remember quite some time back you were asking about the greenfield supportability. I'm sorry, the brownfield. That's where you can, import an environment which is running. For example, if it's a VMware Cloud Direct or any other product which is running, there's an option to import it, and that's where you can see and you can manage it. So in the upcoming versions, we are going to make that import function a lot easier. That's our aim is. And data center management, I was just holding it for the last, because data center management, as Amit was saying, this is something which has been newly introduced, and you can perform those functions using UI and API also. So what you can do is basically data center means VROPS, then vCenter, NSXT. So these components are not managed by lifecycle managers. So what it does, it registers. It helps you. First, you need to register those data center, and also once you've registered it, it stores over there the information. And for example, if you want to deploy VMware Cloud Director, you can just refer those data center where you want to deploy. There are two, advantages. One, you can segregate. I'll show that in the demo. If you are registering a data center component, you can tell them if that data center component is used for management purpose or for development. So that's where, you can segregate that. Okay, if I want to deploy VMware Cloud Director on a management data center or vCenter, you can use that existing vCenter, which is already registered, or NSXT or VROPS, anything like that. So I'll show that in a demo wherein you can relate what I'm saying at the moment. Okay. So these are the features in the UI and API which has been introduced.
Bhaskar, can I ask, how aligned then is it to the interoperability matrix that VMware Validated Design provides, in terms of you've got this data center management and you can actually put in other components there? Do they have to align to the VVD?
Yes, they have to be aligned to the VVD yet. So the reason why we have got this, just to make sure that, for example, by mistake, we are not deploying VCD on a different data center. We can have something segregated in the environment for the ease of manageability and deployment, but still we have to follow the VVD itself.
Yeah.
Now comes the product deployment. So as I was talking, this is the high-level deployment step, which for what we need to do is, these are the steps which you have to follow right now in the UI and API also. We need to register the data center, as I was saying, either in API or user interface can do that. But this is the mandatory step in UI, without which, you won't be able to create the environment. So basically, when you're creating an environment and in the next step, you're saying which product you want to deploy, you have to then refer that which data center it has to be deployed on. So next comes validation, wherein once you've deployed the products, at the end there's an option in UI, you can just validate whether all the parameters are fine and you have given all, the DNS records are properly configured. There's NTP servers and so on. It's the first level of validation, which was earlier available in CLI and API also, but UI, we have got this in a nicely graphical user interface, or I would say you can visualize it. And finally, once you have deployed, you can check the status of the running task. And here you can see, go toggle back and forth and see which running task is going on and where you have gone wrong, and troubleshoot accordingly. So with that, let's go to the demo, and I'll show you here wherein how the deployment of VMware Cloud Provider and Lifecycle Manager looks like. Okay. So you can see, as you can see the window here, Lifecycle. This is a typical VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager, UI, which I've logged in. And once you log in, this is the three tabs which you can see. One is environment, one is data centers, and then tasks. So the environment is nothing but, whatever you have deployed, and then it will be, you can arrange them, sort the environments alphabetically. And now you can, once you open it, it will go directly to the deployed environment, like the usage meter or any other product. And you can download a JSON. So I'll talk about it in a while. So what I wanted to show you is the data center. So this is where I have register the data center, and that's where you can see the running task which is going on. You can also cancel a task, and here success based, you can sort it based on whichever succeeded and the error as well. Now, another thing which is might worth looking at is the API version 2, which Amit was talking. So this is the new version of API which we have come up with. And if you see there are a lot of changes here, like data center functions, you can see or get information of all the data center, and you can register the data center, I was saying NSXT and so on. But when you're registering a vCenter, for example, you have to give some networks and so on, which is needed for the underlying product which has to be deployed. But tomorrow, if you are creating a new network, so CPLCM won't know that. So what you're going to do is you have to update the data center. Here, there's an option to update the data center and add the newly created the network, so that CPLCM is aware that the registered data center have got new networks. And if you are deploying new products in that networks, it will then show up, right? And you can select those networks. Similarly, we have got some modifications or upgrades in the deployment. If you see here, we have got, and the major difference in the call is that, for example, VCD. So here in this call also at the bottom, we are just referring the the data center component which is already registered, rather than typing all the information of the underlying infrastructure which was earlier in the products. I mean earlier in the API version. So here we in this API also, if I look at the minimal, so deployment. This is where we are just calling the data center which is already registered. Earlier, we had to give all the information of the cluster, pool, network, and so on. But this is right now, it's just simple, the steps. So whatever we have registered, we're just calling it here. Now, I want to quickly show you a video which talks about the deployment, keeping in mind the time which we have got. So I'll explain it right now. So this is the typical folder structure, the CPLCM, which I was talking about. Inside the repo, we have got the VCD and all the versions here. And you can get more information from this information in the YouTube as well. You've got the cloud data version. And if you see OVN update also, we have got the files copied here. You can refer more information from this. You can refer this link for more information. And now, as I was talking about the API details, so it clearly mentions, what all things have been added. So I'll just quickly forward this section, and you can see the version of the product which you're running from this API, this call. And also, once you log into the UI, you can get to know the information from here as well about page, which we have got here. So as I was telling that these are the environment or the product details which you can see, and you can categorize that. And this is the typical data center which will show up once you have deployed. So let's register. So you have got two options. One, you can just choose an existing JSON file with the details in it and click next, or else you can follow the steps here, wherein you need to provide the vCenter details. As I was saying, this is the data center type, and then provide the version details here, FQDN, so username and password. So under the purpose, that's where I wanted to tell you that you can mention which purpose it's going to be used for, whether management or any other, like a resource or management, and it will be in that.
What's the resource?
Resource is it's like we have created for any development or any other resource consumption. For VCD, for example, for tenant resource consumption, we might have a different vCenter. So that is the reason. It's just the naming which we have got it. It's a non-prod.
Yeah.
And then comes the prod group. So for example, for VCD, for example, I've been needing two network. One is the management, one is the DMZ. That's why I'm just adding it here. And if you need more networks, so always you can add it here. And as I said, if any new network is created in the data center, once you've registered, you can just use the API call too. And now you can just go ahead and validate. So it will check all the parameters or the details which are provided, success. So go ahead and register. You can also download the JSON. It will give you the details and you can reuse it. So this is where it gives a nice interface when you can see the deployment status success. So that's very valuable to see it here. If you click on open, it will directly take you to the vCenter, or in that case, any other data center components which you have deployed. So now let's go ahead and deploy an environment, and you can check the task here. And it will give you a task ID like earlier we used to get that, and you can just go to that specific task ID and get information about that. So once you create the environment, so here also you will get to know, for example, I'll show you. So here, first thing you will get to know is that you can upload an existing JSON file. If you have used deployment earlier, or from API, you have got a JSON file for the deployment, you can utilize that. So in that case, you need not worry about providing the details. For example, here, if you see the environment name, and this is where, when you saw the data center which you selected and all this information, so if you had not created that data center, you wouldn't have got this information. That's the reason the data center step is important. You're just selecting here right now the resource pool and all the information for the product to be deployed. Select the product, the version. Here you just need to provide the license because since it's a JSON one.
Oscar, how would it handle multiple version upgrades? Is there any way to automate that in sequence, or is it going to be doing one and then you have to do a whole other upgrade job?
Yeah, it's like one job at a time as of now.
Okay.
But yeah, this we have got this feedback also, and we are working on that to make automated task execution. And this I'm showing how we are copying the vSAN. Like this is the prerequisites for the VCT to be deployed on NFS mount. And here you can select the small, medium, large size deployment, and the public address. Once you type it here, automatically I will see that under advanced settings, all the console proxy HTTP address will be updated. So we don't need to worry, and just verify that. And here we can select this mode thin thick SSH. You can enable or disable. And here nodes. So we have got one node. If you want to add another node, we can do that. Provide the root password, the NIC details, and under advanced, we also have got an option to select the cell size and the CPU memory. This is where the networking comes in. So since we have added the networks there, we need to just specify it and click OK. And if you need another NIC, we can do that. And another node also you can add from here like this. If it's a multi-node deployment, click next. And then comes the integration. So integration is here means that, for example, if you have a RabbitMQ which you want to integrate it with, so you can just click on that, or any product integration which it supports. So after deployment, it will integrate it. So select the host type or select the integration type. Here, NSXT vCenter or RabbitMQ, you can just select, provide the information. So basically, it will deploy the VCD and also integrate with that product. So here we'll just ignore it at the moment, and comes the certificate. So this is where you can upload and configure the certificate and click on validate. If it's a success, yes, you're good to go ahead and deploy. And you can always verify the details from here, what all things are provided, and also download the environment as a JSON to reuse it later, and then deploy. Right. So for this demo, let me just forward it because, and before that, you can just see this is the typical JSON what you have deployed here. I'm going to show you a real quick, how we can just choose it manually rather than using the JSON. So similarly, we'll provide all the information here and select the VCD version, like what we found out there. Provide the network details here for the nodes, and network information, the IP address, both the networks here. Integration here, I'm not doing anything. And the certificate details will just, and if you don't provide any certificate here, it will deploy the self-site certificate. And as it succeeded, so we'll just go ahead and deploy. So this is what I wanted to show you. So this is a nicely laid out, the representation of the task, wherein you can see which task is going on and which all failed. See, the first one, discover step, have been completed. That's why it's green. And all the there are various subtasks below. I mean, this ones, and wherein if it fails, you can just verify. For example, if it fails in the configuration of certificate and its certificate keys are wrong or something like that, you can just check from here itself. And eventually, we'll see that the cell is getting deployed, as in when deployment step is going on. And at the end, if you see, all these steps have been completed, and we are at the last step, that's LCM discover step. It will just discover, the LCM will discover that, okay, I've got deployed this product and I need to manage it. So deployment steps have been completed, and that's where we should be able to see a report here and the success. And finally, once it's deployed, we should be able to see that the VCD1, if you see here, that have been deployed. All you need to do is click open, and that's it. And we'll be able to go to the VMware Cloud Director and log in. As of now, with UI, we can only deploy. Data options and upgrade is not available, but we are planning to get that in the next version. And so, but through API and CLI, it's still available. So you can see the cell details here. And that's pretty much about it, the deployment. So if you have any queries, feel free to reach out to me or Amit or any other part in that case.
Yeah, so it's awesome to see the UI. I mean, we spent a lot of time doing API calls and stuff last time we did this for, I think it was 1.2. So really good to see the progress here. I think it's probably safe to say that once you've deployed with this configuration capability, it would be then best practice to only upgrade with this configuration capability as well, wouldn't it? To keep it just all in sync and keep it all supported in that manner.
True.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. So there's obviously a ton that I think people need to understand about this. I assume it's all on the VMware docs site 1.3. Lots of information there. Is there any kind of anything that you think people should be aware of before looking at this solution, Bhaskar?
Yeah, so before looking at this solution, you're right. I mean, they can always refer the VMware docs. So first thing, Guy, what we are asking providers or users to follow is that, see, the architecture remains the same, but if they are aware of, because the API for the version 1.2 and 1.3, there are not much changes. We still have the same calls and updated versions. If they can familiar themselves with the API calls, because some tasks we are still doing through API, as I said, the data center functions and then upgrades and so on, then they can easily relate that what task can be done from UI and what from API. Because in the upcoming versions, we are more focusing on the UI itself, but API still will be there to help us automate the task, because we have got a Postman collection.
I mean, the UI will be self-consuming the APIs that are available, I assume.
Yeah, exactly, mostly.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, great. I think this is a great step forward. It's great to see the capability in UI, particularly like that train kind of completion status. That's kind of nice to see. And if you're deploying, private clouds, for example, with for customers with VCD and you need usage meters in those instances, this is a great facility to make that highly repeatable. And then also, start looking after them from an upgrade perspective when the latest versions come out. I assume all kind of maintenance and things like that would be outside of the scope of the tool in terms of, messaging the tenants and maintenance windows and things like that. That's all within the products themselves rather than within this solution, right?
True, that's right.
Yeah, okay. All right. Amit, Bhaskar, any kind of final words on this solution? For me, very pleased to see it. I look forward to seeing 1.4 later this year. And just summarize, you said Cloud Direct availability is now going to be included. Any other capabilities in building more into the UI? What sort of thing can we look forward to?
So apart from the cloud directory availability, we are planning to add A2 functions, upgrades in UI. And there are a lot of feedback we're getting that import functions we are working on, wherein make the import option manageability of the, brownfield environment. We are stressing that that might be simplified as well.
Yeah.
And a few other things like, task, you can toggle with the task and so on, and various other cosmetic changes we'll find.
And as we, I believe VMware validated designs are changing to VMware validated solutions. Yes. As this happens, then we'll keep the pace with this tool to ensure that interoperability and testing is done. Obviously, if you've got existing environments, it may be some steps for you to get to that interoperability level of validated design before you can start kind of using this in anger. But once you're there, I think this is a very nice facility to kind of keep things consistent. And like you said, Bhaskar, right, 90% of challenges are usually configuration issues. So this avoids a lot of that.
So yeah, guys, that's all I wanted to say. If you see from Docker image to UI, and now we are stressing more on that with the VBS so that we are compliant with it, and especially in terms of interoperability check. So
Brilliant.
Yes.
Okay, well, I look forward to it. Amit, thank you very much for your time today, walking us through those slides. And Bhaskar, thanks for putting this video together and talking about the architecture and the kind of technical aspect of the solution. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.